Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread. Breaking Bread is hosted by me, Crunk Chocolate, where I go have a nice conversation with the quote unquote enemy. Whenever Manchester City has an upcoming match, I will be here with someone who is going to help us learn about Manchester City's upcoming opponents. Uh, Shout out to everybody who is enjoying the 15-minute tidbits before it shuts off, because this is a Patreon exclusive, just $6 a month. Just $6 can get you wonderful, knowledgeable episodes just like this. Our interview series, uh, oh, our interview series that we also have, Chopping It Up, Brain is Melted, and all our other wonderful things that we offer in our Patreon for $6 a month. 20 plus hours a month of content for you. What a deal. We are here to talk about FA Cup. Manchester City are welcoming Salford City, I feel like most people, we've been calling it Manchester Derby all week. I mean, it is what it is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're technically just coming off of not playing the best football ourselves. So, let's just respect our opponents. Pep has very much taught us to do that over the years that he's been here. And I'm enjoying it. Like, this is super fun. We'll get into it with your ownership. And I've been doing some, like, naturally, I've been doing some research. So I definitely have some questions.
Lovely.
But let's get to the best part. Please, Shady Gang, give it up for One Up Front podcast. Yeah. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good. My name's Danny from the One Up Front podcast, and I also I don't know if it's a big thing in America, but clubs in England, we produce a match day program, and our club at Salford, for financial reasons, stopped doing it. So we produce a fanzine from the fans, written by the fans, and I edit it. So that's why I've got two taglines on my little handle there rather than just one.
I love it. No, and shout out to you for doing something like that, because match day, I know how important that can be for clubs and things like that, and especially the match going people, and for someone like to be able to take over that's actually very cool. Like, respect.
We love it. We absolutely love it, because we noticed that the match day program wasn't being sold very well because there wasn't much content written by people who cared about the club. So all of us love the club to death. We write the articles, we design it, we get it printed. All the profits go to charity, so everybody's a winner. So yeah,
Love that. So fantastic. Okay, Danny.
good.
My first question before we get into like how you fell in love with the club and all those things is, what the hell is an AMI?
Oh my God. I actually only found the answer to this recently, and I'll probably get it wrong. I probably an easy answer to that is to say that we were an amateur club for quite a long time. So we weren't a professional team. We were in the non-leagues that's one way of looking at it. But I think if you look back at one of our previous names, there was a name like Ami or Amersham that we used to be called, that was now transformed into Salford City in the last ... years. So it does make sense to the often going public. They know what it means.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it. Again, that was just something that I popped up when doing the research, and like, they're called the Amis, and it was I was waiting for something else to be like, and this is what they're called. That, like, all right, well, good thing
No, it's a secret. Yeah. Secret.
Hey, and some of the best information is, and in doing the research, it was like, the stadium, it's Moore Lane, but it's called Peninsula Stadium because of sponsorship.
That's it. Yeah, it's like the Met Life. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been to the Met Life. It's like the Met Life. So yeah, we all do it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's the best way to get some money and some stadium sponsorship. So do you guys call it Peninsula Stadium, or do you still call it Moore Lane?
I think we just call it the Peninsula now, until
that.
further notice. So maybe people who've been following longer than me might still call it Moore Lane because it is on a street called Moore Lane. But technically, I think people just say the Peninsula.
Hey, that's nice though. That's fun. Okay, and I see that your ownership group. Ugh. Oh, so there's Peter Lynn. He owns 40%. Nikki Butt, Ryan Giggs, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, and Paul Scholes. They all bought 10% a while ago. And then David Beckham got in there and bought an extra 10% from Peter Lynn. That's why he owns 40%. You're just baby united, or is that an insult? Like how does it feel to get that ownership group that is, a bunch of Manchester United legends?
Well, the one thing I'll update you on there, it's relatively recent, but the Peter Lim, who also owns Valencia, has stepped away. He's actually Gary Neville has acquired that share. So that says to me, it's not a financial transaction. It's the fact that he's passed on the debt that the club is in, which is in the region of about 10 plus million, which is manageable. I don't think we're not in any financial danger. And just to get it out there, we are losing £70,000 per week because of our income difference than our actual income and our outgoing. So I always think, regardless of what anybody thinks about Man United and Ryan Giggs, these lads together are losing that much money between them every single week, and they're still up for it. So
Yeah.
I just take my hat off and say, thank you, God. Thank you for doing that.
No, that's true football. And well, I guess while we're here and all of it, then what do you think of the whole Wrexham situation?
Okay, well, it's a very good parallel, because Wrexham essentially did what we tried to do. They had a lot of momentum coming into League Two, and they also had a documentary like we have, and they found it much easier because they probably had a bit of a bigger bankroll with their American owners than we had. They spent it quicker. They bought a lot of players who were too good for the league, and they went straight up. Whereas we tried to do the same thing. We've been trying to do it for 6 years, and we've not managed to get out of this league. Whereas Wrexham basically just wiped the feet and moved up. So yeah, I do understand why we get compared to Wrexham, but in English sport, the high spending teams who try to buy the way to success tend to be hated.
Mhm.
We used to be hated. Now people don't care because we don't do very well. Whereas Wrexham have now become a bit of a new hate stroke cult figure. So yeah, it's interesting the way that English sport is maybe different than maybe American ones.
Yeah, and it's always interesting because in America, naturally, not everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but the average American, because I'll even use the word soccer fan, who is
Yeah.
aware of Wrexham, they tend to support the club. I know, like me, I don't pay attention to any of it, the documentary, none of it. Like it is what it is. If they get close enough to like the championship, the Premier League, obviously, then I got to pay more attention to them. But
Yeah.
I don't know how all that spending will work because once you get in the championship, you got to start doing PSR and all those other things. So that will be very interesting. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, they just exist to me. There's not really like a hate or love type of thing.
Same here, to be honest. I don't envy anybody's success, because people can throw money at things and it won't work, but it actually did work for them. So they must have got some decisions right, even though they did it with a lot of money. So it's not a bad thing for me, you know.
That's fair. Hey, that's fair. Uh, okay, well, what is it about Salford City that you love, or what made you fall in love with the club?
Great question. When I've lived in different places in the northwest of England through my life, so depending on where I've lived, I've tended to want to support the local football team. So when I lived in Bolton, which you may have heard of and you may not have, Bolton, it's not far away, Bolton Wanderers, I actually used to support a local team called Ratcliffe Borough, who were very, very deep in the non-league. And then I also supported Oldham Athletic, who used to be in the Premier League about 20, 30 years ago. But for the last 5 years, I've been a devout Salford fan. This is where I live. I live here with my wife. Since I got married, this is the area we live in. I walk to the stadium and I walk home. And it's great to stay after the game, have a few pints of Guinness, have a chat, because I do the podcast and people are asking about the podcast and the fanzine and stuff. So there's a big community aspect to the club. And that's what's made me fall in love with it even more.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I will be making my first trek to England and the Etihad next month I'll be going to City versus Newcastle, and our podcast we also cover City women. So
All
the
right.
next day I'll be going to City versus Liverpool, and that's at the Joy Stadium. I'll be
Magic.
there for a week, so I'm going to try to visit as many people. Naturally, Manchester and London, those are the two main places, but I'm going to try to stop and say my hellos to everybody that I can, since I'll be there for a week. And
Brilliant.
other than those 2 days, I'll have the rest to drink some Guinness of my own and have some pub conversations. I just want to get there and learn and experience, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
That'll be great to see you. I mean, if you can fit in a Salford game at the same time, I don't know if you looked at the fixtures. We'd love to have you down. You can buy a fanzine. We'll welcome you
Yeah, I
anytime.
mean, I grew up playing rugby, so I plan on trying to get to rugby
Oh,
match. I
wow.
just want to experience as much as I can, like all the pyramids, all the leagues, like just that's what I'm there for, is to just soak in as
Brilliant.
much culture as possible.
Super.
Yeah. Yeah, because the most entertaining thing that when I was looking up Salford was the Great Escape of the 2008 2009 season, when you're like we're flying through managers, and one of the managers that you hired, he actually had a long-term suspension that wasn't that I guess they didn't tell about, and so then they had to get rid of him and get a fourth, and
Right.
holding on to the last match of the season where you're able to stay in the league. I mean, I was just reading about it. I tried to watch, I like looked it up on YouTube. I was like, man, can I find something about it? And I unfortunately wasn't, but I was just reading about it. I was like, this sounds insane. And that's, I mean, obviously with City and the success, we don't really get stories like that. I mean, used to once upon a time.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. Yeah.
truly became a City fan back in '02 when I found them in the second division. I had never even actually heard of them at the moment. All I knew was United, and I knew I hated United. So
Oh, good.
the
Okay.
only idea was to, okay, let's root for City, and one day they'll take on. I didn't know anything about like being the noisy neighbors. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just loved the crest. I really liked the kids on the game, and they were just Vivian, Sean Wright Phillips. I think Goder was still on that team. There were just like some players that looked like me, and they were ballers on that game. So
Yeah.
it was just really, really fun to, see and play, and just slowly. And then once I played rugby, then that kind of like doubled down on the whole alternative sports, as they call it here in America. And I've just been trying to embrace
Respect to that, though,
football.
because you're saying there you followed a team that wasn't necessarily doing very well, and it's very easy, as you talked about Wrexham, for people to start to attach themselves to success. But you didn't do that because there wasn't a prospect of a big takeover and world domination and 4 titles and all this. Then, so you were drawn to a team for better or worse. They could have gone down, they could have gone out of business, but they didn't, and you love it, and you love it genuinely. So respect for that.
Yeah, I live in the Midwest in the United States, and the chip on our shoulder, and that same thing. That was the same exact idea as to why I became a City fan, and look where they are now. It is very fun, and
Yeah.
and the other teams that I support here in America, they go up and down, and that's I've experienced good and bad, but football is definitely taken over my life. It is the number one sport that I watch.
Yeah.
I will fit in American football and basketball and all those other things in between, but also with the time zones, they don't clash too often. So that's always
Yeah.
great. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about Carl Robinson
Yeah.
and how does the average Salford supporter feel about your manager, and what style of football should we expect to see tomorrow?
Okay, I'll just say first of all, if I can, that
Of course.
within the lower leagues of English football, Cal Robinson, unless he's your manager, you hate him because he's one of those managers that if you go to an away game, you'll see the rest of the ground apart from the Salford fans going, Cal Robinson, you effing piece of effing, and
Oh,
that just because he's a very animated fella, he's a very passionate, he's very outspoken. can be a little bit verbally aggressive on the touchline with the fourth official and the referee. He got sent off in his first game after 10 minutes when he joined us. So
Oh,